Hey everyone, it's Jowd and welcome back to Let's Play Ghost Trick. Last time we managed to save the park guy's life, and he started telling us about what happened 10 years ago when Lynn was kidnapped, I guess, and then a meteorite came down in the park and hit the criminal in the back, so it wasn't Jowd shooting after all, and I guess that means he has nothing to feel guilty about. And this time, I guess he's going to tell us about Temzik here, so let's see what he has to say.
I never knew about this Temzik. I always thought Detective Jowd was the one who saved me.
You were very young then, and you passed out from the shock of being taken hostage. Of course you wouldn't remember. But that's funny. A huge incident like that should have caused quite a stir. It's strange you never heard of it, Lynn.
It is, isn't it? But now that I think about it, I remember I didn't want to think about what happened. I avoided the news, and I never came back to this park again. That's why I didn't know anything about it.
The meteorite was named Temzik after the name of the park that it fell in. And then the Rock of the Gods was forgotten. Now an awful thing is happening. They're talking about turning the park into a housing site. I'll never forget the miracle I witnessed that day. And so I've taken up residence in this park, and I'm trying to appeal to the people. Protect the park, the Rock of the Gods. That is my mission.
I see. I'm taking you with me, Missile.
He can't hear you. His ghost is goodness knows where, blown off by the wind. So 10 years ago, the little girl that was Lynn wasn't aware of the meteorite. I get that, but Detective Jowd, on the other hand, there's no way he didn't know about this Temzik thing. And if he knew, and the man died, I took his life. What was that confession of his all about? The rocks of the gods that fell from the sky 10 years ago changed the destinies of many people's lives, like the ripples on a pond when a pebble is dropped in. With every answer I get, I learn about a new mystery. Will I be able to break the chain of mysteries before dawn? Anyway, now that we have the evidence we need, we decided to meet up again at the Minister's office. Besides, there are a few things I want to ask Detective Jowd.
We found the music box, Detective Jowd.
Good job, Lynn. I knew you would. Once everything had been resolved, I had wanted you to give this to him.
Him? You mean Inspector Cabanella, right?
I don't suppose he'll ever forgive me.
Detective Jowd.
Now then, let's get this thing open. There's a certain knack to doing it, you know. See? He calls that a knack? Looks more like brute strength to me. Well, I was going to say something, but you mentioned it first. How the hell did he fit that in there? Here you are. You should find scorch marks on the grill.
Scorch marks?
When Camilla built her contraption, she used a special kind of string. It's a kind magicians use. It burns up in an instant and disappears.
Why would little Camilla use something like that?
I don't know. Maybe because she's a detective's daughter. Not leaving any evidence behind and all that. Haha. In the case report, there was mention of some scorch marks. When it happened, Camilla was watching from her hiding place. She saw the flame run to the gun, something she naturally didn't include in her design. I took the gun out of the frame and replaced it with a picture. If you remove the picture, you should find scorch marks behind it on the frame, too. And those marks should match up with the ones on the gun.
In other words,
it proves the contraption existed there in the room that day. And it didn't work the way your little girl intended, is that right? Exactly. Some cowardly culprit modified the design. But that angle was never brought up in court. After all, it's ludicrous, and you kind of confessed and changed the evidence and all that. And so, as Justice Minister, I must call off the execution at this point.
I knew I was right. It wasn't Detective Jowd. Now we can finally prove that. Thank goodness.
Actually, no, because he could easily have set up the contraption to do that. Thank you, Len. In those eyes of yours, I see the eyes of that little girl from 10 years ago. Speaking of 10 years ago, mate, we wanted to talk to you. Sissel, if you hadn't come to my cell tonight, I would be gone by now, without ever having known any of this. This is what I deserve. That's what I told myself these past 5 years. But things are different now. Thanks to you, my eyes have finally been opened. Tonight, I've come into contact with a lot of people's lives and got involved in their fates, and the only reason I was doing it was to regain my own lost memory. But things are different now. We're connected to each other somehow. I just know it. And that's why I need to ask you a few more questions, in order to find the truth about us. Fair enough. Fire away. I want to ask you about this, Temzik, but we'll go in order as we usually do, so we'll start with the manipulator.
Cecil told me all about it, Detective Jowd. About the manipulator.
Yes, and it looks like this manipulator already did a number on the minister, too. Oh! Please don't pick on the minister. If he dies again, I'm the one who has to save him. Oh!
Cecil, do you think that's what happened to me, too?
What are you talking about, Len? Don't tell me. You were manipulated, too!
There was always a part of me that just couldn't believe it.
Oh no, that's me apparently. Okay, there was always a part of me that couldn't believe that image of the one who shot me. But now I see the possibility of a new explanation.
But who is it, and why did they do it?
Who knows?
That contraption was a birthday surprise for Camilla's mother, wasn't it?
That's right.
Something's been bothering me about it. I feel like I know that device from somewhere.
No surprise there. You lost your life once tonight because of that machine.
Right, I knew it. See, Detective Jowd?
No, I'm afraid I don't see, because I wasn't there. I was kind of stuck in prison at the time, and only you and Sissel actually witnessed that. I told Detective Jowd about it. Told him about seeing the exact same contraption tonight in a completely different place. That's very strange indeed. A junkyard on the edge of town? I've never even heard of the place. And what's more, I've never told a single soul about that contraption.
You haven't?
That old pigeon guy. Who in the world is he? Finally I get to ask him about what I wanted to do at first. Detective Jowd, you must have heard this name before. Temzik. The meteorite that fell in the park 10 years ago. You were there. So you found out about that, did you? I hear that meteorite saved little Lynn's life. That's right. I couldn't do anything to help Lynn that day. But in that case, I don't get it. If it's true, doesn't it mean you didn't steal somebody's life away?
What are you talking about?
Detective Jowd, you told me that 10 years ago the person who killed the perpetrator in the park was you.
What? But it was the meteorite.
I wasn't lying. I stole that man's life away. No question about it. It was entirely my fault. I was just about to shoot him. I would have shot him in the next instant if the meteorite hadn't come. At that point, I was already a murderer.
That's not true. You were trying to save me.
Lynn, I'm sorry, but I don't think that's really it.
Huh?
On that day 10 years ago, a different incident happened in another place.
Another place?
Yes, in the police headquarters interrogation room. The worst sort of incident. A suspect who was being questioned escaped.
Wow, I didn't know about that.
I happened to be there in the detective division, so I joined the chase. Fortunately, or I guess unfortunately, I was able to track him down alone in the park. Hold it right there! I fired a warning shot. I wanted to catch him bad. That warning shot made him panic. At the time, I was a young and green detective, brandishing my sense of justice like a sword. I made him panic and got you involved, Len. It was all my fault.
Detective Jowd.
All I could see was my target. I couldn't even see you. I'm so sorry, Len.
So the man who grabbed me died that day.
These last 10 years, I've never forgotten his face. And then a few years after that, When my wife Alma died in such a mysterious way, I thought it was fate, my punishment for what I'd done. So I decided to confess to it and then give myself up for execution, even though I felt I'd already been punished. I painted pictures in my cell, nothing but portraits of people's faces. All the faces of the many people I've met in my life and didn't want to forget. And tonight, I finished my last portrait, the final face I wanted to remember. Yep, and we already saw this, didn't we? The final face. The face of the man in the park that day.
Wait just 1 minute! That can't be! I saw that painting! I saw the face you painted tonight! It was my face! Are you telling me I was the man in the park that time?
That's right. That face of yours is the face I saw 10 years ago. The face of the man whose life I stole, of the man who was pronounced dead at the scene.
But hold on, Detective Jowd. That can't be true. I just met Cecil for the first time tonight. And he died right in front of me.
By the way, the name that I know the man in the park that day by isn't Cecil.
What?
If this video was a little bit longer, I would leave it there. But fortunately for you guys, I like to leave it between about 15 and 20 minutes, so I don't get to cliffhanger you now. From the first minute I laid eyes on you tonight, I've been wondering, who in the world is this guy?
Mr. Minister.
Inspector Cabanella, where are you?
Just be quiet and listen. This is our demand.
What? Demand?
Our demand hasn't changed. The execution must be tonight. Once we've confirmed it's been carried out, we'll release the hostage.
What are you talking about, Inspector Cabanella? And you know it wasn't my daughter who was abducted.
Does it really matter who the hostage is? A life is a life. Even if it's the daughter of a death row prisoner. Once the criminal gets the punishment he deserves, the hostage will go free. Carry out the execution immediately and wait for our call. What's this, Mr. Minister? You look paler than ever.
What in the world? What's going on? Inspector Cabanella!
The rock of the gods that fell from the sky 10 years ago twisted the fates of many people and started a chain of tragic events. And even now, the chain continues to grow ever longer. Inspector Cabanella's call proved that to us. And the greatest mystery of all has risen to the surface. Who is this me I've been chasing all night? Who am I? I'm even further from knowing than when I started. As usual, at the end of the chapter, we're not going to save, but let's continue. Chapter 15, 2:55 AM. Not long till dawn, I imagine. 10 years ago, a man named Cecil took a little girl named Lynn hostage, and then was killed by a meteorite fragment. Tonight, a man named Cecil met a detective named Lynn at a junkyard on the edge of town, and then was killed by a bullet. The scene I find waiting for me on the other end of the phone line feels like the final nail in the coffin of my lost memory. I see myself. There you are, Commander Seth. Finally. Oh, this guy's voice. Cecil, where have you been, my good man? We've been looking everywhere for you. Had a little unfinished business to take care of. Didn't think it would take this long. What about your people? They sure went out of their way to mess me up. I say, I believe we fulfilled every one of your conditions in our little deal. What right do you have to complain about anything outside our bargain? We can talk about that when we get together. This will be our last communication by telephone. We'll arrive in 1 hour. I look forward to seeing you, Cecil.
Dawn is approaching. The darkness surrounding my own mystery is deep, but I know it's always darkest before the dawn. That feels like it's been taken. Yeah, that was taken before from Batman. Actually, I don't know if this was released before. I'm pretty sure it was released long before The Dark Knight. Who knows? But yeah, that's straight from The Dark Knight. Yes, we're nearing the final stages of our little deal, my good man. Yes, sir. All preparations are complete, sir. I think I've given this guy the same voice as Jowd. I realised this just yesterday, actually, but oh well. And we've just had a report, sir. Lights have been spotted, sir. Have they now? By all means, let me have a look. Oh wow, even more stuff in this. I thought it was going to be the projector come down. Yes, we're very close. We'll now disconnect from the communication cable and have no service until we arrive, sir. Very well. I hope we're not stuck on this end of the call. And if we're not, then how does it, how do we know what's going on here? So, yep, they're in a submarine. Very odd submarine, but that's where that room is. Nice try, Inspector Cabanella, but you could never stop me. See ya, sucker. Okay then, that'll do for this part. Oh, I'll do the stop bubble first and then. So, that submarine guy and his people have a deal going with me today. How do you know they're on a submarine? If that's the case, they probably aren't the ones who killed me, right? Anyway, there's definitely something behind the inspector's death. I think I better talk to him. I think, well, we could talk to him. I think we're going to leave that for next time. So next time on Ghost Trick, actually I'm going to go through the phone lines next time, and then we're going to have a chat with Inspector Cabanella and see if we can't save his life, because he's looking pretty dead right about now. Thanks for watching, everyone, and bye-bye.